One country controls 70% of the world's supply of a single mineral. Without that mineral, the fertilizer that feeds 8 billion people cannot be made. That country is Morocco. The mineral is phosphate. And right now, the supply chain holding it together is breaking apart. Most people have heard of peak oil, the idea that we will eventually run out of oil and everything collapses. We spent decades worried about that. We missed the more immediate problem. Every plant on Earth needs 3 things to grow: nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. We can pull nitrogen from the air. We have plenty of potassium reserves worldwide. But phosphorus is different. It is a finite element. It must be mined from the ground. There is no synthetic version, no lab-grown substitute, none. In November 2025, the U.S. Geological Survey officially added phosphate rock to its critical minerals list. That same list includes lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements. The U.S. government just told you, in writing, that your food supply depends on a mining product, and the mines are concentrated in one place.
Morocco holds 50 billion metric tons of phosphate rock in reserve. That is 70% of the entire world's known supply. For comparison, the next largest holder is China, with 3.8 billion tons. Morocco is not competing for dominance in this market. Morocco is the market. Now here is where the structure gets fragile. A significant portion of Morocco's phosphate comes from the Western Sahara, a disputed territory Morocco has controlled since 1975. Deep inside that desert sits the Bou Craa mine, one of the largest phosphate mines on Earth. The phosphate mined there travels to the coast on a single belt. That belt is 62 miles long. It is the longest conveyor belt in the world. Astronauts on the International Space Station have photographed it. You can see it from orbit, a white line cutting across the Sahara. That belt is a regular target for the Polisario Front, the armed group that disputes Morocco's control of Western Sahara. When that belt stops, phosphate stops. When phosphate stops, fertilizer production slows worldwide. But the belt is not the only bottleneck. To turn raw phosphate rock into fertilizer, you need sulfuric acid. And where does most of the world's sulfuric acid come from? Elemental sulfur, recovered primarily as a byproduct of oil refining and natural gas processing. The Persian Gulf region is the global price setter for sulfur. Nearly half of all seaborne sulfur trade originates or transits through that region, which means the chain looks like this. Sulfur comes from the Gulf. Sulfur becomes sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid processes the phosphate rock. Phosphate rock becomes fertilizer. Fertilizer grows the food. Every single link in that chain runs through geography that is contested, volatile, or both. On February 18, 2026, President Trump signed an executive order invoking the Defense Production Act specifically for elemental phosphorus. The White House stated, and this is a direct quote from their official release, that there is currently only one domestic producer of elemental phosphorus in the entire United States. One. That order was signed 11 days before the Strait of Hormuz crisis began. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched military operations against Iran. Iran retaliated by effectively closing the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping. The Strait of Hormuz is the single passage through which roughly 20% of the world's seaborne oil trade moves daily. It also carries nearly half of the world's seaborne sulfur supply. When the strait closed, sulfur supply tightened immediately. Sulfuric acid became scarce. Fertilizer producers in Asia, Africa, and South America started slowing down. The Strait of Hormuz is not an oil story. It became a food story. Here's what is easy to miss in all of this. Morocco is not running out of phosphate anytime soon. 50 billion tons is a long runway. The problem is not the amount. The problem is the concentration.